Hello, welcome to the Wild Gut Project. My name is Carrie. This is all about being vegan on the low FODMAP diet for IBS, and today I'm sharing with you a kind of foolproof recipe for making sourdough bread. So as you might know, normal wheat bread is kind of out for the low FODMAP phase and a lot of people don't tolerate it so well, but proper sourdough bread where it's had a really long time to prove and the yeast has kind of broken up all those fructans in there, you can actually tolerate its low FODMAP. And it's super expensive to buy in the shops. At least in London, all the artisan shops, it's around £3.50 for a tiny one, and sometimes £5 if you buy a decent sized loaf, which is outrageous. This recipe costs about 50p and it's really fun to have homemade bread. Your house smells beautiful, it smells like freshly baking bread obviously, and it's really easy. I don't know why it's something I always thought was so complicated before. So yeah, sharing that recipe with you now. On the morning of the first day, you're going to want to feed your starter culture, your mother culture. You're going to do this by discarding half of it and then adding in some flour and some water, it's your bread flour, and mixing it all up so it's nice and even, and then you're just going to pop that lid back on and leave it somewhere cool to start fermenting for the rest of the day. So later that evening, you're going to make your poolish. You're going to take your bread flour and measure out 140 grams, mix it with 140 milliliters of water, and then you're going to take your lovely active fermenting starter and add 40 grams of it to that bowl and mix it all together. I will write out this recipe and link it below, and I'm going to put measurements for people using imperial as well as metric, because I know lots of people watching these videos use those measurements. So you're going to cover up your poolish and leave it overnight, somewhere cool and out the way, such as on top of a fridge. So the next morning, nice and early, you want to get your poolish down. Hopefully it looks like this, lots of bubbles in it. And we're going to make the dough. So you need to use 350 grams in total of flour. I'm using half brown and half white. The white gives a much better texture, but I like the flavour of the brown, so that's why I'm mixing it up. And then you're going to add in 10 grams of normal table salt. I'm mixing it in the water, 150 milliliters there, but you could just add it straight into the flour. And I'm going to mix everything together now, just using my hands because it's so much easier. So that's all of the poolish we made last night, all the flour, all the water and the salt, and start mixing it up. Now if it's a nice cool day, you're not going to have to do more than just mix it into a very simple dough. But because it's actually a warm day on this day when I'm filming, I'm going to knead it quite a bit. This is because the yeast will have less time to start breaking down the gluten, so I need to do it for them with the kneading. So I'm just going to pop that kneaded dough that's elastic and smooth back into the bowl, cover it with cling film. And if you know any waste-free alternatives to cling film that are also vegan, please let me know in the comments below. So then early in the evening on that second day, I'm going to scoop the dough out, carefully keeping that dry, kind of crusty surface intact, because I want that to be then the skin of the bread. So I'm sticking together here the kind of sticky bottom part that was touching the bowl. And I'm going to put it on my metal baking tray and start shaping it. So this is the shaping step, as you can see. And I'm just going to cut some little slices into it just because it looks pretty, but it's obviously not necessary. And then I'm going to cover it with a tea towel, leave it until later that evening, so about 2 or 3 hours. It should be nice and risen, and that will go into the oven that is preheated to gas mark 6 or 190 degrees Celsius or 400 Fahrenheit. And then after about 45 minutes, you're going to want to check it. You want to do this by tapping the base. And it should have that nice hollow noise when you tap it, and that's how you know it's done. So I'm just going to cover it with a tea towel, leave it to cool, propped up on the tray, or obviously you can put it on a cooling rack. And then the next morning I'm going to slice it. So I don't have a bread knife, so this is a bit awkward, but it does make a really nice crust, and the bread should be good and soft and kind of spongy inside. It ends up much lighter if you use just white flour. But yeah, there is the finished product. And then I slice up the entire loaf and I put it inside a plastic resealable bag, and I always use the same one, so then I can later pop it in the freezer and have sourdough bread ready to go for toast whenever I want it. So I'd love to know if that has inspired you to give it a go, and if you do, please take a photo and send it to me, because I love seeing people kind of creating stuff. And yeah, I have not stuck to this recipe like completely methodically, like not scientifically at all, and it always kind of comes out pretty well. Like nice tasting bread, even if it doesn't proof for as long, or I forget to feed the sourdough, I just kind of use it to make the poulish. So yeah, you don't have to stress about it, it's just something to have fun with. I make a video every Sunday evening for low FODMAP vegan things, and if you'd like more of those, please subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Bye!